and now it seems like it's kind of in
I
limbo.
can't even claim to be in the ballpark of understanding that stuff. We're many, many years or decades away from having any usable information. Some people are having some benefit, but it's in, the problem with that kind of thing is, with a lot of things that are going wrong, even in terms of like injuries and stuff like that, is spontaneous recovery. And that sometimes people just get better because they just got better. And whatever they were taking or doing at the time becomes the reason for it. And so it's really hard to look at testimonials from individuals or a group of individuals. You have to have some decent studies, some placebo-controlled double-blind studies to be able to see if there's any real usable benefit out of it. I've just noticed that when I, probably more so than anything, is when I eliminate the things that aggravate my stomach, then I digest food better.
Yeah.
And so whether I'm on the chicken stock bandwagon or not, I'm eliminating wheat, spaghetti, pasta, breads,
that's
vegetable oils.
Rob Wolf preaches that too, and that's kind of how he came along with the paleo solution. It was he just started eliminating foods till he kind of almost stopped eating just about everything, and he started reintroducing stuff back in. And he was very sick too. That's important to note. Yeah, I think people are like, "Oh, the paleo diet, you don't eat any carbs," or you. It's like you got to keep in mind he had an autoimmune disorder and he was very sick. And
a lot of people that contact me want to know if it's going to help with GERD or any leaky gut or any of these other digestive issues. And again, I'm not prescribing to fix these things, but I know that it worked for me. I know that certain things aggravate these problems. So and I am cautious about over restriction, like we kind of talked about earlier. Things like the FODMAP diet or the GAPS diet. They're criticized because of too much restriction, in which case you might become micronutrient deficient. So I'm trying to find a good middle ground here is what I've tried to do.
You mentioned you don't think there's much going on with supplements.
I haven't seen a lot. Here's the problem. You take something like arginine, for vasodilation. Well, salt does the same thing. You take something like creatine for intracellular water retention. Salt does the same thing. So they become less effective. And I've said this before, is that if you have a deficiency and you remedy it, you get a significant result. Well, whether you remedy that deficiency with a supplement or you remedy it with food, you're going to get the same result. And I just choose not to jump on the supplement bandwagon.
That's what Sean Baker said when he was on the podcast.
Then why are you asking me?
He was the...
Every time I answer a question, he's like, so-and-so already said that. I'm like, there you have it.
Oh, I'm just saying people are agreeing with you. Yeah, Dr. Sean Baker.
I'm agreeing with them. I didn't invent any of this stuff. I told you this is... Things that Flex told me 10 years ago, Lee Haney told him 20 years prior. And it goes back far beyond that. Yeah. I didn't invent any of this stuff. I'm not a guru. I'm not the smartest guy on the block. I've just tried to boil it all down into a recognizable form. And sometimes, at least in this country, when I was in Kuwait last week, if you're a PhD, people will listen to you. If you're a meat neck bodybuilder, probably not. But here in this country, being a meat neck bodybuilder has its advantages. People tend to listen to you. If you're the most jacked guy in the room, they'll listen to you. No matter how stupid you are, it doesn't matter. I want to do what that guy's doing. Right. So, just to make sure, with full disclosure, that I've tried not to make it bro science, and I certainly didn't invent any of it. And, I didn't. But it's a really, really effective, easy to follow, sustainable plan that I've been fortunate to have so many people, grab hold of and also realize the same results that I did and my athletes have over the last few years. You don't really supplement with any sort of vitamins. The only thing you mentioned was vitamin D3, which you feel is a hormone. Yeah. And vitamin K and all these other things you get pretty much through food. Yeah, I think the K you can get from the yolks is pretty good. There's a few other sources, not off the top of my head right now, but spinach has K1, which is very different. Doesn't convert to K2 very efficiently, but it has benefits of its own in terms of I think it's coagulation, blood clotting. So I can't remember it all. Whey protein probably doesn't matter a lot. Protein's protein. I just say if you get protein from chicken or get protein from beef or get protein from whey protein, that satisfies your macronutrient requirement. I'm focused on the micronutrient requirement. Whey protein doesn't provide me the iron or the B12 or the zinc that I need. And so, and I'd just as soon eat my food because I think that when you drink a whey protein, how does that affect your digestive enzymes? Yeah. Does your HCl increase? Does the pH decrease? That doesn't do that. When you eat meat, it does. And so I think you improve absorption as a result of those nutrients that are in there. We're kind of designed to do that. And I've said before in one of my rants, they're convenient and they taste good. And in so much as that's the case, and you have some extra cash, supplement here and there. But I can't disclose the athlete, but and many of them are this way, and sponsored by supplement companies. But when I get hold of an athlete, I tell them shakes are for fakes. Eat steaks. And when they do, their performance improves.
Yeah.
Every single time. And their gut health, because I don't know how
getting something more dense. Yeah.
I can't take in a whey protein. I don't even care if it's a whey isolate. I can't take in a whey protein powder. It
kills you.
Irritates my stomach. And I guess some people somewhere along the way decided the more gas they had, the more effective it was. And I don't know when or where that happened. But I mean, this goes back for me 30 years.
Well, we know that from going to the Arnold Classic.
Oh my God, it's horrific. And you know, it goes back a long time for me. Decades ago, 30 years ago, I was distributing supplements, and I was selling an egg white powder. And the wives of the people that I was selling it to would tell me to quit selling it to them because they would clear out the house. Yeah. So I mean, that stuff. I just can't believe that if your body responds to something that way, that you would keep eating it.
Right.
You know, unless it's kind of fun, you know. So
yeah, I think you just probably are thinking, oh, this is what I should be doing. This is how it should be.
It's convenient. It tastes good. Beyond that, I take it out of diets. I take coffee out. I take protein powders out, and people respond.
What are some other things people should be looking out for in terms of things they should probably take out of their diet?
Well, I mentioned most of the anti-nutrient things, the phytic acid and the lectins in beans, the enzyme inhibitors, oxalates, all those things kind of go into this general anti-nutrient kind of pile. I've talked about garlic being a difficult to digest for a lot of people. And then too much of something, dose dependency, too many eggs. Eggs are high allergen. Things like peanuts and too many peanuts. I'm not a big fan of peanut butter. I just don't think it's a good protein source or a good fat source necessarily. I'd rather eat steak than have peanut butter. It's just so much more beneficial.
Right.
I'd rather squat than leg extension, I've said before. There's just a good, better, best scenario, and I'm trying to have people select, optimally. So I pull all those things out. Obviously, I said vegetable oils. Those are the main things that I pull out of diets.
You don't cook with like olive oil or anything like that. You cook with the beef tallow you mentioned.
Yeah, cook with beef tallow. There's some benefits to getting some omega-3s in, but there's also greater benefit from reducing omega-6s because you can't really take in more than 2 grams of omega-3s a day, and because that's dose dependent as well. You take in too much, you start to have adverse effects as well.
What's going on with your cooler?
Cooler's going well. The big thing is that the cooler sport is finally getting ready to be manufactured. That's a half-gallon
version, right? Yeah.
It's about half the size. Has a side handle that's rubber. It's a beautiful looking product, but it also has the removable shaker bottle. But it's about half the size. It holds half a gallon. A little more convenient for people to carry around. So I'm excited that's coming about. We've also been developing an app that should be out shortly. We've used some very good programmers from Silicon Valley who've worked on some very big app programs.
Cool.
I guess the Fitbit was originally created, as my understanding, in Japan by a guy who was just trying to track his own fitness.
Right.
And then it was Under Armour bought it for $400 million. That's a pretty good turn, right?
Yeah.
Well, then I think Fitbit recently purchased an app that's a compliance software. It's an app that helps you stay on target. And it's used mostly for doctors. And I don't remember the name of the app that they purchased, but Fitbit purchased this app. And so doctors could track things like high blood pressure, things like compliance for high blood sugars, etc. And it apparently is very effective. They have very good retention rates. And I've talked before about the number one thing you can do is compliance. That what's the best diet, and that's the one you'll follow. What's the best exercise, the one you'll do. And so they created an app that had some artificial intelligence type of responses. So if people weren't complying, it would tell them, hey, and they could track that. I used that same information, the same programmers that worked on some of those same apps, to put together an artificial intelligence app for me, or for my company. I'm partnered with Derek Molesworth, who's a PhD in biological sciences, and he and I have been working on this for some time now. And we have a great development group, and they're putting together an app that's mostly for compliance. So I give somebody a diet, and then I give them a checklist, like I've talked about before, that every single day, this is what you need to do. The 3 10-minute walks are tracked, and whether or not you do them is compliant.
It's almost like you're picking up some points.
Yep. Every single time you eat a meal, you can just take a picture of the meal. Now your coach can see it.